Hello, everyone. We're here back with you again tonight. I know it looks like I'm in a hazmat area, but I just put something up to block so you don't have to see the open beams back there in our basement. But good to be back with you guys. Chris and I have talked a couple times. It's like we didn't necessarily think that this was going to be like this many weeks. We expected a few, but it's been a few more. But I tell you what, it's been a blessing for me to just be a part of this every week, and I hope that it's been a blessing to each and every one of you. Tonight we have Mark and Teresa Perrin with us, and we're blessed to have them. I see more people continuing to get on. And I think that is partially because of some of the topic that we're going to be talking about tonight, which is helpful for every single person out there who is either looking to get married. Honestly, I started, this maybe shows you a little bit about me, but I grew up in a pastor's house, but even before I was dating anybody, it's like, okay, I want to know what it's like I want to understand what it takes to really have a good marriage, and I want to prepare myself even early on. So honestly, you don't even have to be dating anybody, but if you are dating, if you're kind of getting ready to get married, these things are amazing. If you've been married for 50 years, this is still something that is very important. And so I think that's part of the reason. But honestly, I think just as much of it is probably just because it's Mark and Teresa and everybody loves them. So we're blessed. We're blessed to be able to have them with us tonight, for sure. Mark sent me a really good poll here, so we're gonna actually he sent me two, but we're gonna do one before and we're gonna do one afterwards. So here's the first one. Kristen hasn't seen him. She can't vote, but she can verbally decide what it is. So here's the first one. In marriage, all you need is love. Is that true or false? So take a moment or two and you can make your guess on that. It is a song, right?
I was just
By
singing
the
that.
Beatles, and the Beatles are about as theologically correct in everything they do, right, as possible. So I'm
That's what I
sure
based all mine off of.
I'm sure it's got to be true. All right. I'll give a few more seconds here. Got some more people hopping on. 64% have voted. That means some of you still need to vote.
Vote, vote, vote.
That's right. And then we're going to find out what Kristen thinks.
Okay. Oh no. No.
We'll put her on the spot. All right, we're going to go 5 more seconds and we'll close it up. All right, we'll close this up and here, okay, Kristen, what do you think?
I say false.
You say it is false. 13% say true, 88% say false. And Mark will talk a little bit more about that when we get to that, Mark and Teresa. So 88% say false, 13% say true. It's good. It's good to kind of get the thought process going on that, for sure. Well, what we like to do, Mark and Teresa, we're kind of putting you on the spot, but we like to know a little bit about you before we let you talk. Okay, so we have a few questions. You can be as honest as you want or not, whatever. They're not that bad, so it's not a big deal. But tell us just a little bit about yourselves. What do you do? What's your life like? What jobs do you have? What are you passionate about? Any of those type of things.
Basically, Cody, we spent our careers in the marketing and advertising world, and we still dabble in that to some degree, as well as a little bit of staffing work. And from a hobby perspective, we like to garden, work in the yard, exercise. We have some cattle as well. And so that's about, and grandkids. We like them too. So.
That's awesome. That's great. And I added this one this week. In what ways do you get passionate about serving God? Because I know both of you are very passionate people about serving God. I love seeing both of your hearts and how you serve. And you guys get pretty creative in how you serve people. So what is it that drives you? What do you get passionate about in serving God?
Well, I'll just speak to very recently with everything going on with COVID-19. We can get pretty wrapped up in what's going on with ourselves or what's going on with just our family and are we all okay and how's our church family? And to me, I get passionate when we get a chance to reach out. And recently, a few of us served together. We had the opportunity to go run one of the Harvesters locations and in 2 hours served 560 cars went through
Wow.
to get food coming through Harvesters. And to me, that's just, one of the things I get passionate about is just seeing God's community come together. It was neat because it was a mix of many of us some from churches, some not, but just that we're there to serve and just to love on others. And to me, the creative thing, I think Mark and I have been really trying hard, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, but to really reach out to our neighborhood in unique ways. And so I get passionate about being creative about what's just kind of fun and an unexpected way that you can show somebody love. So we've been trying to do that, especially during this time, and kind of look forward to that continuing.
And the other thing, Cody, is a lot of people know we've been trying to be really active in the pro-life movement, along with our good friends Dave and Deb Burke. And tomorrow morning, for the first time in about 6 weeks, we get to go back to the sidewalk in front of Planned Parenthood and alongside Advice and Aid to go back to praying on the sidewalk and trying to minister to those women coming in there. So we're looking forward to that.
That's awesome. Obviously, that's a passion of mine as well, and I really appreciate that. And last question I have for you is, what brought you to Southwoods?
We prepped for this one 16 years ago.
We couldn't really decide, but we agreed on 16 years sounded about right. As many people know, what brings you to Southwoods is people, and we have a really good friend. Shout out to Carla Hayes, introduced us to Southwoods all those years ago, and it's been an absolutely great destination for us. And I was kind of smiling today how it is true that God can use anybody, even people that might be unlikely. And here we are at Southwoods years later and working on our marriage every day, luckily alongside a lot of good people at Southwoods. But we're not necessarily the candidates that people would pick to say, hey, would you teach us about love and marriage? But God's teaching us a lot about it. And therefore, our hearts are to share people kind of this journey. And so Mark will talk a little bit more about how we got into love and respect and why we feel called to share what we're learning and invite other people into that.
One side note, Cody, the first Sunday we went was in early January, 16 years ago. And everybody on stage was female. And Lori preached. And we're thinking we went to an all-girl church or something. But it was the Sunday of everybody, all the guys were hero makers.
Yeah.
That's funny.
More than you want to know.
No, I love that. I love hearing those stories. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking some of your time, and we really appreciate you just giving us some different practical principles that each one of us can use, especially in our marriage, but honestly in all relationships that we have as well. So thank you guys so much. We'll let you have your time.
All right. So 5 or 6 years ago, we decided our marriage was not all that we wanted it to be. So we began to seek out some tools or guidance or something to try to make it all that it could be. And if our memory is correct, Lori Montague is actually the one who put us on to a series called Love and Respect, which was in the church's library, the book was. So that's how this began. And there's several tools. There's the book, there's the workbook, and then there's a set of 5 CDs or DVDs, I'm sorry. And the first thing we did, we watched those DVDs together and we thought they were really good. And then we began to invite people to join us to watch those. And I think we've hosted probably 7 or 8 groups of 8 to 10 people over the last 5 years to watch those together and have some brief discussion about it. So that's kind of how we got here. And as we talked to Cody and Kristen, we are not at all in any respect marriage experts, but we have found that this is a good resource for us, and we just wanted to share it. And we assure you tonight, we're giving you the very high level, way high level. There's so much to this, and we just encourage you, if anything tempts you here, just to dig into the book or to the DVDs. We're happy to loan those to anybody that'd like to watch the set. And I would say too that on YouTube you can find many clips of Dr. Egeritz, who he and his wife wrote this book, that'll give you a flair for what the study's about.
Yeah, Mark found one today just on YouTube that was actually done by their daughter. It's about a 3-minute thing. So if you Google Love and Respect Egerich, and Joy Egerich will come up, and she's the daughter. And anyway, it gives you a nice flavor. And just if some of you have gone through this with us, we know many of you have, then you'll also kind of get a quick refresher, which is nice.
Yeah. So one of the things that drew us to this is it is fully based in the Bible, and it is based on Philippians 5 verses 30, or Ephesians 5 verses 33, and I will read that. So again, I say, each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So the whole series is called Love and Respect, and it's lifted directly from this verse in the Bible. And as he and his wife expand on this in their series, they build everything off of that verse, and they give some theory, and then they try to give some really practical action items that you can do. So tonight we're going to just touch on the theory, and then we're going to share with you 12 things that a man can do to show love to his wife, and 12 things a woman can do to show respect to her husband. And we would say, you know, over the next week or two, if you could pick 1 or 2 of those out, maybe if they resonate with you, and do them, you may be really surprised by the results that you get. One other thing we wanted to point out, there's a key saying during this study about, they probably say this 100 times over the course of the 5 hours of the DVDs, but when it comes to men and women, we're not right or wrong, we're just different. And he points out a lot of the things that make a man and the things that make a woman, and neither one of them are right or wrong. It's just different. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what, in this case, it's just different. There's not a right or wrong. And that's been a good kind of thought to come back to when you hit some tough times, to say, hey, it's not a matter of right or wrong, it's a matter about being different. And then take some of these tools they give you to work through some things when you do hit those rough spots.
And I think especially just the recognition of the not right, not wrong, just different, is that God created us different. So those differences are on purpose by God. And when you look at what's in Ephesians, the reason that a lot of the learning we did, that we're really commanded, that it's called out for men to love their wives, is sometimes the way we want to be loved is not necessarily what comes naturally for a man. So that is why it is a command there. And the same for the woman to the man, is we don't necessarily just know how to show respect. And yet that is not only what is biblically commanded to us, but many studies have shown that when men end up feeling disrespected, or women end up feeling unloved, that's where a lot of marriages then struggle. And there's a lot of opportunity for growth in just looking at those 2 very simple things.
So he used 2 acronyms kind of that carried through this study. And the one that he used that was aimed at the men is the word couple, C-O-U-P-L-E. And he said couple is code for what your wife needs. And each of those letters obviously stands for a word. I'll go through those real quickly. This is the theoretical part, and then we'll get to the practical part after this. And then there's a word for women of what the man needs, and Teresa will address that here in just a second. But the C in couple stands for closeness, and your wife needs you to connect with her and accept her need to talk. The O is openness. She wants you to share your thoughts with her. The U is understanding. Don't try to fix her, just listen to her. P is for peacemaking. She needs you to say sometimes that I'm sorry. The L is for loyalty. She needs to know you are 100% committed to her. And the E is for esteem. She needs to know that you honor and cherish her. So that's what couple is about for the guys.
And the word that they use for the women to kind of have coded for them or maybe decoded is the word chairs, CHAIRS. And what those words represent, or the letters represent for the women, the C is conquest. And this is really to recognize his desire to work and to achieve. And so really letting your spouse know, letting your husband know that you support and recognize his work and his endeavors. The H is for hierarchy, which what that one is just to let him know that you respect and appreciate his desire to both protect and provide for not only you, but also for the family. So again, really kind of a hierarchy to that. The A is authority. And this one is just recognizing that he has a primary responsibility for me, and even the responsibility to put my needs in front of his, but to die for me. That really is recognition of that authority. Let him be the leader. And the I is for insight. And this is really understanding his desire to serve and to lead, and showing that you trust in his ability to analyze things and really offer solutions based on that leadership. Relationship is the R is for relationship. And this is just his desire for shoulder to shoulder friendship. And one of the things that we learned in the study is, if you think about when women get together and talk, they almost always face each other. They'll just look each other and talk. And a lot of men, when they talk, they may do that, but they develop relationships almost more shoulder to shoulder. You know, they might be looking out at something, but they're talking. They're still having a deep connection, but it's different than women who are saying we need to look at each other to connect. So this relationship one, and that's why they use the shoulder to shoulder, is just his desire also is to recognize that and respect his desire to have a relationship with his wife in kind of that friendship, shoulder to shoulder way, but then obviously way beyond friendship, but to recognize and appreciate that it's different. And then the S is for sexuality. And this is really honoring his desire for sexual intimacy with us. And kind of taught in the book is, it's kind of regardless sometimes of your own desire, but it should come out of your desire to please and your desire to recognize his need for that sexual intimacy. And as well, sexual intimacy then leads to that feeling of love as well. So that's kind of the theory behind both of those. And again, the acronym is CHAIRS, for us women to think about how to show our men respect, and then couple for the men to think about how to show women love.
And during the course of hosting these groups, we've put together kind of an abbreviated guide. If anybody would like that, we're happy to email it to you. Just get your email or request to Cody and we will do that. It kind of boils it down to the essentials, but in the book and the study, there's much more information about each of those letters that we pointed out in those two words, couple and cheers. Okay, we're going to move from the theoretical to the practical. And for both husbands and wives, he and his wife probably gave 60 different things that you can do to either show love to your wife or to show respect to your husband. We're going to call out 12 of those, 12 for guys and 12 for wives. And I picked the 12 toughest ones, I think. So I just thought we would just go to the heart of this and the ones that maybe we're not always comfortable with, but probably have a whole lot of meaning to our wives. So I'll start with mine first, and then Teresa and I will go back and forth on these. One is that you understand her natural desire to negotiate, compromise, and defer, and you meet her halfway.
Okay, so my first one is that this is around appreciating their desire to work and achieve, is just that you tell them verbally or even in writing, just that you value his work efforts.
Okay, my next one is that you admit you are wrong and apologize by saying, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? And, you know, he did this in the context, sometimes we get into what he termed the crazy cycle, where a little thing starts a fight, and then it grows into a bigger thing, and it grows and it grows, and it's finally somebody, and he said it's probably the one that's the most mature in the relationship, just has to stop it and say, you know what, let's stop. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? And that's so much better than letting it, as we all can do, to go on for hours or for days, which is not healthy. So in this case, it's just taking the initiative to say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me?
Okay, another one is just to see yourself as a helpmate or counterpart and talk with him about his work whenever possible. It doesn't mean right necessarily, and now we're all working from home together anyway, but it's not like right when he gets in the door, just tell me about your day, tell me about your day, tell me about your day, because he may not want to talk about it then, but to really watch for those opportunities and ask questions in a meaningful way to really understand what's going on with his work and be able to be a real counterpart to that.
This next one I think is really critical, and it doesn't take a lot of explanation. It's just that you pray with her and you pray for her.
The next one I have is just that you praise his commitment to both provide and protect for your family. Many times that just gets taken for granted. But again, recognizing that and showing him the respect of that, you understand his commitment to do that.
Okay, my next one is you do not interrupt her when she is trying to tell you how she feels.
You quietly and respectfully voice your concerns. This one is specifically around finances because we know so many times finances can cause issues or disruption. So quietly and respectfully voice your concern and be ready to try to offer solutions and accept kind of your part in that when necessary, like a solution of, hey, if we need to cut on spending, come say, here's some things I think I can do as the wife and the mom in this family, some things to support that need.
And husbands, we're advised to don't try to fix her problems unless she specifically asked for a solution. He talked a lot about, a lot of times all the wife wants to do when she's talking to you is just for you to listen, not to give her a solution, not to fix it, just to be an ear and listen. So I think that's what that tries to capture.
This next one is really in kind of that appreciation around authority and leadership, is just to tell him that you're thankful for his strength and enjoy being able to lean on him. And that's really important because again, so many of these things, like Mark said, they're not necessarily hard to do, but some of them just don't come naturally. To really just reach out and just truly acknowledge that you're thankful for that.
And then my next one is that you really try to listen and that you can repeat back what she said instead of your mind maybe drifting off to the 20 things you've got to get done today or whatever's going on, but that you truly do listen and are able to repeat back what she said.
My next one is that you praise his good decisions and you're also very gracious if he makes a bad decision.
And you take the initiative sometime and say, hey, let's talk, and ask her what she's really feeling about and ask for her opinions.
You disagree with him only in private and that you honor his authority in front of the kids or in front of others. And sometimes that gets, all of these can get challenging to do. But again, just remembering that it comes across very disrespectful if we end up going in and just kind of undermining that and not honoring him in that way when you disagree.
And then for men, that we are affectionate with our wife without sexual intentions. So whether it's holding hands, having your arm around her, watching a movie together, whatever, but it's for affection's sake, not just with sexual intentions.
I love this one, is that you tell him you like him and you show it. So many times, and this was kind of a funny thing in the video, but all of the couples we watched it with, we can relate to, is he knows that you love him, but sometimes he really wonders, do you like him? And so I think, again, just really being able to share and express that you like him and that you show it.
And then my last one is kind of goes back maybe to your dating time, but that you take the time to still seek your wife out, and you set up a date night, or you have a candlelit dinner, or you do something, again, that expresses your feelings towards her in a way that's not an ordinary day-to-day thing.
The last one I'll pull out is that you don't treat him or expect him to be your girlfriend. You know, our husbands are not wired that way. And we really, you know, we need our girlfriends just like our guys need their friends to be able to discuss things with, bounce things off with, spend time with. But again, if you expect your husband to be like your girlfriend, there's going to be a lot of disappointments at time. And it also causes some opportunity for conflict.
So Cody and Kristen, we took about 5 hours and boiled it down to about 14 minutes. We probably could have done it in 13 if we'd have really tried a little bit harder, but anyway. So hopefully it gives people a flavor for what the book and the study's about. And again, if there's people interested in getting together as a group, once we can do that again, we're happy to host another session.
Yeah, definitely. It's that's good stuff. You know, it's the one I have a hard time with is not trying to fix the problems. I am pragmatic, and sometimes that's my initial thing is, okay, let's start figuring out A, B, C, D. Let's get it done. And we got it fit in. Aaron every once in a while has to be like, not looking for an answer here, just listen, okay? And that's one that I can have a really hard time. I know it seems so simple, but it can be really hard because my way of helping her is just to help her go through it. But
Yeah,
so
and I
good
love,
stuff.
Cody, I might just make a comment to that, I think, you know, one of the differences they called out, again, not right, not wrong, just different, is women process a lot of times out loud. And they're not even sure what they want the outcome to be. And so they're still kind of talking out loud, and suddenly we're jumping to what's a solution or what's a decision. And we're not yet there to even know where we want to go or to even be able to necessarily receive a solution yet, because we're still trying to verbalize as we process, where a lot of times men will process a little more internally. So by the time they're ready to talk about it, they already have it solved. They're done with the processing. So I totally understand what you're saying with you and Aaron.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and it makes total sense. And I wonder if it even comes back to some of that of a protection, because it's almost like this protective instinct. It's like, okay, I want to help you through it. I want to get it figured out so you're not having these feelings. But you know, I agree with you. I think that's exactly right. Is guys, we have to just kind of have this in our mind before we go there, just to listen.
And Cody, our only regret in all this is we wish we'd have found this 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I love that you said like 5 or 6 years ago. You weren't like, day one of our marriage, we just started doing this. Like, you were just like, okay, our marriage is good, but it could be more. And I love that, like, no matter what stage of your marriage, like I see people who have been married less than a year on here or a little bit more, but I also know there's a lot of people who've been married a lot longer on here. And so I love that it's like God honors and loves marriage so much. And so he's just like, there's so much more. Like we can always be doing more, you know, just to honor our spouse, and because God created them too, and he loves them too. And so,
well, to what Cody said earlier, I would highly recommend it for people that are engaged or considering getting engaged. That's the stage to really watch this for the first time.
It's good stuff. Hey, while I've got a moment here, I do want to let people know we do have a handout. I meant to mention that earlier, which has all these, some of these things, the chairs, and what was the other one?
Couple.
Notice which one I remembered. See, I was like, chairs. Women, you need to figure this. No, I'm just kidding. The couple is that's the one I need to be focusing on. But and we do have a poll here, but I wanted to also say that everybody, if you have any questions, we'd love to. There's a question section or in the chat section, either one. You can put some in there, and we can maybe discuss 2 or 3 of them or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and launch. What is this? Who wrote the song Respect? Is it Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin, Greg Montague, the great songwriter that he is?
Yeah, absolutely.
John Denver or Rodney Dangerfield?
That's awesome.
I get no respect. So you got a few options there. We'll see what you guys think. No Googling, by the way. Got 27% in. 55% in. Oh, Greg Montague got a vote
Greg
there.
Montague got one. Woo!
Did Lori vote?
Those two are the king and queen of show tunes, but this isn't
That's
a show
right. Staff
tune.
meeting. That's what.
Yeah, we get those all the time. We get to listen to them do that. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and close it. We're at about 75%, and we'll see what the answers are. And the answer is, here's what the response is. 13% say Otis Redding, 75% say Aretha Franklin, 13 Greg Montague. I thought maybe we'd get 1 or 2 for Rodney Dangerfield, but no, we didn't get that. And the answer, Mark, what is the answer for this one?
Yeah, and this is addressed, and I wanted to say this too, Cody, that especially for the guys, these DVDs are not boring. They're funny, they're entertaining, they're educational. So don't think you're going to have to sit there and suffer through 5 hours of this. But one thing he talks about is this song that everybody assumes that Aretha Franklin wrote it because she sang it, and it was all about respecting women. But it turned out she did not write this song. Otis Redding wrote this song and actually recorded it first, and then Aretha came back afterwards and recorded it, and that's when it became such a big hit. But it was Otis Redding saying, hey, respect is important to me as a man. And that just further plays into this message about love and respect, that men need that respect, women need that love. So I just thought it was a good way to point out that actually it was a man who wrote this song.
Yep. Very good stuff. Well, one thing I appreciate about with all the things that you guys went through is, those are two terms that can be really sometimes hard to quantify. I think that how many different ways we define love, and not all of them are accurate. But I think it's very good to just have some of these very practical ways to say, here's what love looks like. Here's what respect looks like, especially if it's not something that necessarily, that's not your love language. That's not how you process things. It's not, you kind of need those things to be able to help you put it into action and make it a real part of your marriage, your relationships.
Cody, I'd just like to mention again what Teresa mentioned earlier. When they started this series, their children were young, but now Joy, their daughter, is grown and adult. If you can find her YouTube video, it's 3 minutes. And she said when her dad first came to her and said, I'm going to do this series about respecting your husband, she said, I don't respect men. Men have to earn that. I can't unconditionally respect men. But she's totally flipped her thought process now after reading the Bible and hearing her dad speak and studying this. She puts it in good perspective, and she does that from a young person's view. So it's worth the 3 minutes to hear her speak about this series.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing I will kind of mention with this is what I like about this is that I know it comes straight from Scripture, which is the ultimate wisdom. And there's so many things that are PC or un-PC, and we can take almost offensively, which really shouldn't be, because it's not meant to be that way. It's meant to be that God has designed us and knows exactly how we are. And for us to really take joy in our marriages is to look at how God designed us and how God designed marriage, and to say, God, because you are God, we trust that you know how we're designed and how what we need to do to make this work. And marriage itself is really the first thing that we see, one of the first things we see in Scripture. It's Adam and Eve together. And I always thought it'd be hilarious to kind of go back in time and just listen to how they try to figure things out between the two of them on all of this. I'm sure that there was some fun moments that maybe God will show a tape of that when we get to heaven or something. But thank you so much for your time. Kristen, was there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, just thank you so much. It's helpful for not married people and obviously married people. So
And there wasn't any questions. You guys did such a good job of going over the stuff that we didn't have any.
They were afraid of our answer.
They're like, get these people off here.
That's right. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And thank you for serving at Southwoods. We are blessed to have you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You as
Bye.
well. See you.